Hello everyone, it's Melanie here from Mel's Inky Fingers, and I'm going to show you how to make this adorable silhouette card by using a monochromatic color scheme, cardstock, and matching gems and embossing powder. It's really easy. You could use any stamp set, but I'm going to use the Terrific Toadstools photopolymer stamp set. Now this is part of a bundle that also comes with a coordinating punch, but for this particular card, we're just going to use the stamp set. So let me tell you what you'll need to create this with me. You will want a cardstock color of your choice. And I'm going to use Berry Burst, and this is cut 4 1/4 by 8 1/2, and it's scored at 4 1/4, and that's going to be your card base. Then you're going to want a matching piece that's 4 by 4 inch square, and that's going to go on the front. You will also want a 4 by 4 inch square piece of basic white that's going to be your inside layer. And then you will want a 1/2 inch, a 4 inch by 1/2 inch strip, and that's going to be for our sentiment on the front. And those are your cardstock pieces. Then you will want some gems or embellishments of some sort. These are actually the 4 color tinsel gems. We're going to use the Berry Burst to match our cardstock to stay with our monochromatic look. And then you will want some twine. I have a tiny little bit of smoky slate twine. This is from the Essentials Baker Twine pack, and this will match my silver embossing powder, which I'm going to use to do the silhouette. You could also use black, you could use white. It's really your choice, and gold would also look beautiful. Now we will use 2 inks. We're going to use Versamark, which is my preferred ink for heat embossing. And then I'm going to use the matching ink to my cardstock to stamp a little detail on my basic white layer for the inside. And then of course, anytime you heat emboss, you're going to want your embossing additions kit, which includes your little tray, your embossing buddy. It's going to include your little holders, and then whatever color embossing powder you want, and then of course your heat tool. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is get our card base ready. I'm going to fold this along the score line, burnish it really well, and now that's going to be ready. I can set it aside. So now let's take our 4 by 4 inch piece that's going to be our main front layer and do our stamping. So everything that we stamp is going to be done in Versamark ink. But before I do any stamping, I want to take my embossing buddy because I'm going to be putting embossing powder on this after I stamp my Versamark. So I'm going to rub this all over the front, and what this does, it's like an anti-static tool. It is going to keep the embossing powder from sticking where we don't want it. Then I'm just going to get my embossing powder ready. Now I keep my embossing powder in these little containers, and then I just use these tiny little disposable spoons and spoon it onto my project, and it just kind of keeps it neat and tidy. And then this will be used to hold it while I heat. So this embossing additions kit is really quite handy. All right, so I'm going to start by kind of gauging where I'm going to want my sentiment, and I'm going to want it to sit about right here. So that's going to help me eyeball where I'm going to put the grass. So I'm going to center it and kind of put it right in the center and give myself a little space for my sentiment. Then you can add your other elements. So I'm going to make sure that I have enough room to add all these cute little details here. And the Versamark ink is really sticky. You can probably hear. And it's a little hard to see, and then as it dries, it gets darker, and we don't want it to dry because we're going to add our embossing powder to it. So now that I have all of my elements stamped, I'm going to add my embossing powder. Make sure you coat all those areas really, really well. You can blow off any extra that you have. And your embossing additions kit also comes with a little brush that you can brush away any extra embossing powder. But I think we're good here. Don't be afraid to blow off any extra stray bits of powder that you see, especially when you're working with black and white. All right, so now I'm just going to take my heat tool and I'm going to get it warming up. And you'll be able to see as this changes. I'm going to hold this. You'll be able to see it getting nice and shiny. It takes just a little bit, but you can see it's starting to change now. And as it changes, you can just follow along with your heat tool. And I hold it in one place until you see that powder getting nice and shiny. Now you don't want to overheat it, because if you overheat it, you lose the shine on your powder. So you just want to run this over the top. There. So now you have this really cute focal point that you can add to the front of your project. So now let's add our sentiment. So this is our sentiment strip. It is 4 inches wide by 1/2 inch. And we're going to bring our embossing powder back in here. And we're also going to emboss our inside layer. So let me get, I forgot to put my stamp. So I'm just going to change this over, and I think on the inside I'm going to put popping up to say hi. That'll be really cute on the inside. So we'll do these 2 pieces now. So again, we're going to stamp in our Versamark ink. So we have just a little thank you on the front, and then popping up to say hi on the inside. And I'm going to kind of put that up a little bit, not quite in the center, and get my powder on here. Once you have your powder on here, I forgot to use my embossing buddy. Did you see how I blew that and blew the powder everywhere? Did you see that little puff? Learning the hard way of what not to do. All right. So I always make sure that that's out of the way. Okay. So once the powder is on here, you have a little bit of time to work. So I'm just going to heat this. And my heat tool should be pretty warm, so it should go really quickly. You can see once your heat tool warms up, it takes just a very short amount of time to do your heat embossing. Okay, so now we can assemble the front of our project. So I'm going to take some Stampin' Dimensionals and adhere this front layer to my project. And you might need a few extra, because sometimes the heating causes your paper to warp a little bit, especially if your heat tool wasn't real hot when you first started. And this is just going to be centered on your card front. So I have embossing powder because I don't do what I did and blow in your embossing powder and get it everywhere. All right, and this will just be centered on your card front, and you can overlap it with this part of your image. So that is really, really cute. So now I'm going to just bring in my embellishments here. So I have my gems. So we are going to add those to the front of our project because they will really kind of lift it up. It's adorable. And there's no right or wrong way to put these on, really. I mean, can you put too many gems on? I don't think so. Okay. Sometimes when you have a hard time picking it up, you can use the putty side of your tool, and you can see how easy that makes placement of those smaller gems. Okay, and then last but not least, let's add a little... My glue dots have disappeared from my table here. So let's add a bow. So we're going to add this really cute little twine bow to our card front. Now normally I would put this on with a glue dot, but my glue dots aren't here. So I'm going to put a little tiny drop of liquid glue on the front, but because this will move, I'm going to wait till the inside is done. So let's move on to our inside layer here. So we have this really cute little embossed sentiment here, and we can bring in our Berry Burst ink and just add a little bit of detail in the front by taking maybe like this little mushroom here. These are so cute. I love these little guys here. Aren't those cute? And then if you want, you can also add a big mushroom over here. So however you want to however you want to stamp your inside layer to make it super cute. And then this is just going to go on the inside here. Isn't that super cute? So now I'm going to take a tiny dot of liquid glue and just put my little bow right on there. And there is my project. Really easy. You can make it in any cardstock color that you like. It's a great way to use up some scraps if you have some partial sheets of cardstock, because it looks great really in any color you want, and then you can coordinate your embossing powder to match. So I hope you tried this silhouette technique, and I hope you enjoyed seeing me create this card. Thanks for watching.